Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Deputy Secretary, I've enjoyed working with you for a long time. I'm a little unclear. I just want to make sure, and for the record, what are the circumstances in Qatar or Iraq? Iraq, I know, for example, being able to purchase additional electricity. Any of those dollars go to Iran?
No, none of those dollars have went to Iran. None of those dollars will go to Iran.
No ands, ifs, buts, no secret passageways, no other kind of things that may have been alluded to. Are any of those U.S. dollars going to Iran?
No, those are not U.S. dollars. Those
are dollars that were
that money will not
they were dollar denominated that were owned by these other nation states.
Yeah.
But even those assets owned by these other nation states that happen to be denominated in dollars, through any of the Trump administration's actions, are any of those dollars ending up?
No, and they will never flow to Iran. They will never go directly to Iran.
Okay. No magic doors. Thank you. I do want to talk about what you've are up here on, because I do think we need some additional tools. And one of the things I say to my colleagues, back in 2016, we put in place legislation to go in terms of secondary sanctions on Hezbollah. Since that time, we've seen new ways to move assets around, crypto being one, banking systems finding ways around sanctions. That's why I put together legislation with Senate Reid and Senate Round, Senate Romney, called the Special Measures to Fight Modern Threats Act. Subsequently, I introduced the Kansi Act to help to deal with efforts to evade sanctions using DeFi. The truth of the matter is, for all of the angst and anger and concern, there's something we could do in a bipartisan way that would be really simple. And I still can't completely understand. I've talked to my Republican colleagues who I think are in agreement with me, that say the same kind of legislation we put in place to go after Hezbollah, shouldn't we put that kind of legislation with those additional tools in place to go after Hamas?
Completely agree with you, Senator, and I think we've been happy to work with you and the bipartisan members who are interested in working on this legislation.
And our bill expands coverage to foreign financial entities that facilitate transactions for any terrorist group. Again, that whole notion of secondary sanctions, so that we can clear up and make sure that no matter what talking points you're talking to, you can answer a question straightly that, we are going to go after Hamas and any of their secondary funders, no matter what form of currency or fiat they use. And I know you've been trying to do this with executive order, but I think, as you've repeatedly said, you need additional tools.
We do, and we appreciate the work that you're doing on this tool, because we think it would be useful for us and something we'd be prepared to do.
If we were to have those additional tools, describe specifically what would be what you could do in terms of limiting Hamas's access to funds, regardless of their source around the world.
Fundamentally, one of the problems set today is that while we take actions to make it harder and harder for Hamas to move money through the traditional financial system, what they're attempting to do is to use everything from individuals to curry cash to cryptocurrency to move money into Gaza. It's hard to move money by people given what's going on with the border, but cryptocurrency is far easier. Having a secondary sanctions tool will mean that when we take an action, it will pause other actors from touching the nodes in the cryptocurrency ecosystem that are potentially helping Hamas to move their financial resources, and will make it harder for them to move them and potentially even stop their movement in the place where they exist at the moment.
Well, one of the things that I was proud to work with the chairman on and the former ranking member, Senator Crapo, where we tried to significantly advance AML, KYC, kind of how we figure out who people are doing business with and where the bad guys are. I personally believe that if we're looking at the Office of Terrorism and Financial Independence, or OFAC, or FinCEN, these entities, even looking back years ago, are under enormous strain as we try to track down bad guys' sources of funds, particularly in an increasingly complex financial world. do these entities, we all agree we don't want to go after the bad guys, but do these entities need additional resources if we're going to give you these additional tools?
They do, Senator. Ultimately, what we know is that these actors are well-funded and looking to move their money as quickly as possible, making sure that the talented men and women who work on these issues have the resources they need to go after this problem set is critically important, especially given that from Russia to Hamas, the thing that they are looking for is access to money. We need the money to hire talented men and women and to pay for the technology that's necessary to track their funds and shut them down.
Again, I thank you, Mr. Chairman. I, again, appreciate the witness's willingness to restate, again, for the record, that these dollars or these resources that were owned by other nation states that happen to be delineated in dollars, that whatever sanctions relief that was granted did not end up with those resources flowing into Tehran, regardless of how much some of my colleagues may say otherwise. Thank you.
Senator Tillis.